Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thrive and Prosper podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ritchie. Joining us today is the founder and CEO of Fund&Grow, Mr. Ari Page. And to anyone familiar with the origin story of Fund&Grow, you'll recall that one of the seminal building blocks of its foundation is something called the law of attraction. Well, Ari Page has always been forthcoming with how the law of attraction changed his life and his business. And so today we're going to deviate slightly from our normal content, and he's going to be giving a frank, informed explanation of what the law of attraction is, where it comes from, and how you could apply it to obstacles in your professional or personal life. So without further ado, Mr. Ari Page, please take it away.
What we're going to talk about today, law of attraction, can seem to have overlap in religion. And I don't want anyone to feel challenged or this is like going against your religion or what you believe in that. And if you do start to feel that way, then immediately realize that I'm not trying to push this on you and something that you have to do. This is simply a thought experiment. If it works for you, then it'll be great. If it doesn't, then it was just a couple hours of your time. No big deal. The concept of law of attraction, of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, it having something to do with what's going on outside me, it kind of sounds crazy, right? Like what's going on in here have anything to do with what's going on out there? It seems that I have to deal with all of the things that are going on out there, that really it's more about how I deal with it than anything, right?
If you just think back to high school science, we know that everything in the universe is made up of atoms. It's made up of the exact same stuff. So our bodies are made up of it. Everything in the universe is made up of it. You know, the stars and the planet itself. There's nothing that's not made up of this energy. And if we think about it, if we really get clear on it, how is my consciousness or my way of thinking or my way of feeling having anything to do with the atomic world around me? It's like, okay, yeah, it's made up of smaller things, but how do they really interact with each other? How do they connect? How do these two different things connect together? It's easier to understand if we look at it in a basic form. So let's look at what this energy is. Atomic energy. It's made up of atoms, but it's actually made up of smaller things than that. So an atom is made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. It's made up of these tiny little particles. And it actually even gets smaller than that. But for the sake of the conversation, let's say it takes around a couple million, usually it's like 2.5 to 3 million particles to create a stable atom. Now, this atom could be any different element. It could make up a variety of different things. It all depends on exactly the combination, almost like a combination lock, of which particles make up that atom. Now, the particles can change at any time. They're constantly popping in reality and out of reality all the time. They have no idea where these particles are going and where they're coming from. All they know is that everything around us stays balanced all the time, even though the electrons and the protons are coming in, they're leaving, coming in and leaving. And so the particles predicate that what type of atom it is. Is it metal? Is it wood? What type of base element it is. And then many atoms form together to create what we will call a molecule. So it takes a couple million particles to create a stable atom. It takes a couple million atoms to create a stable molecule. It takes a couple million molecules, usually around 2 to 3, to create a stable cell. It takes around 2 to 3 million cells to create a stable organ. This is a progression of energy. Would you guys agree? From the very smallest all the way up until what's manifested. And your consciousness, your way of thinking, and your feelings are predicating the particles, how they form together. To what type of atom does it form together? To what type of molecule? To what type of physical thing? Is it going to be a physical thing that pleases us? Or is it going to be something that displeases us? And we have control over it from that basis, from the basis of the energy itself. And this is not something that's done through assertion. Assertion means telling the universe something. It doesn't happen through thoughts. It happens through feelings.
Because it's all energy. And according to quantum physicists, it never started and it will never end. How does that even work? We can't even think outside of a start-stop cycle. Everything that we know of started and it's going to end, right? We were born, we're going to die. Our mom and dad, they're going to die. The sun itself At one point, it's going to explode, they tell us. The universe itself, they say, is going to come to an end at some point. They say that everything starts and stops. And there's nothing that we know of that's outside of the start-stop cycle, except for the atomic energy of the entire universe itself. The atomic energy, it never started, and it will never end. It simply is recycled over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so what is recycling it? What is telling this atomic energy to take these different shapes? Turns out it's our consciousness and our feelings together creating a vibration. And the thing is that since you were born, you've been observing and concluding, and you've been doing this process so you didn't even realize that you were doing it. You didn't realize that since you were born, you've been interpreting vibration. You are actually so good at interpreting vibration, you don't realize that you're doing it. That when you're looking at reality, that you are interpreting vibration with your eyes. When you're hearing, that you are interpreting vibration with your ears. That when you're touching, that you are interpreting vibration with your tactile touch. There's nothing that you do that is not because of our ability to interpret vibration. And that's what we have evolved here to do, is to interpret vibration. And because we were born interpreting, we tend to conclude that what I interpret with my physical senses is reality. But we have a much bigger, broader way of interacting with reality that has nothing to do with our five senses. In fact, we have a way of influencing reality that's well beyond the five senses. The five senses really distract us from our true ability to be able to interact with this energy. And what is the interaction doing again? It's predicating the electrons, protons, and neutrons, and how all of these things form together in our lives. And so if we were to get very clear on how it forms together, we would have to start to understand our emotions. Because with our emotions, there's really only two: the good one and the bad one. And we know, like what they say in The Secret, there's all these different names that we call the good one and all these different names that we call the bad one. But basically, the good one feels good and the bad one feels bad. And so when we start to interpret our life through the lens of how we feel versus offering the majority of our attention towards what we're observing, most people are just placing their energy on what they're observing around them, what's coming at them, all the people, the situations, the things. And they're giving the majority of their observational energy towards what they're observing, rather than how they're feeling.
So now, of course, you might think, well, my thoughts and my feelings is kind of the same thing, right? Because most people think that their thoughts think them and that they're not in charge of their thoughts. It's like, I'm observing all this, I got to deal with my family and all the kids and all this, and my thoughts are just kind of thinking themselves. I'm dealing with life. And what happens is you kind of get a life that has a little bit of all those elements to it. Maybe not all of the things that you want, but all of the things that you're focusing on. So law of attraction says that if I can focus on something, whether or not it's real in my life, if I focus on that long enough, that thing will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if it's a problem, guess what? It's going to get bigger. If it's a good thing, it's going to get bigger simply by placing your focus on it and having the desire. Now, most of the time when people place their focus on something that they desire, they feel more of a bad feeling. Because they're like, yeah, there's this Lamborghini and I know I can't have it. So there's this gap between what they're observing in reality and what they're feeling. Now, when you focus on something that makes you feel good, let's say your grandma. You focus on your grandma. You don't have this gap. It's not like this thing that you can't have, right? It's like this person that you adore and she adores you. And so as you focus on it, there isn't a gap. What your third dimensional mind is thinking and the way that you're feeling is the same, right? There's no gap. It's not like I'm not going to have this love for my grandmother. Or maybe if you do have that problem, you'll feel the gap, but do you guys understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying this? So let's say that you're thinking of things that you desire and you feel good about it. That means your third dimensional mind is in alignment with the way that you feel. If I think about something and it makes me not feel good, my third dimensional mind is not in alignment with the way that I feel. So I'm going to further break that down. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the inner being and your third dimensional mind, because everyone in this industry talks about, like when we're talking about spiritual stuff, they all talk about vibration, right? You guys hear that term vibration all the time. It's almost annoying, right? It's like, oh, my vibration. And what does it really mean? Like if you go to the dictionary and look up the word vibration, it'll tell you that it's the oscillation between 2 points. Just back and forth. That's what vibration means, right? And everyone's talking about, oh, I'm going to raise my vibration. Well, what are you going to raise exactly? So what are the 2 points that create our vibration? If that's what vibration is, it's oscillation between 2 points. What are the 2 points? Turns out the 2 points is your third dimensional focus and your inner being. These are the 2 different points. Sometimes they're perfectly aligned. Other times they're miles apart. When we're focused on something, when our third dimensional mind is focusing on something that we believe, it feels good. It feels great. It feels like something that you're in tune with, that you're in line with. But when you focus on something that you do not believe, or that you find outside of what you think could become yours in your experience, and I'm not necessarily saying things. This could be friends. This could be, information that you're searching for. It doesn't really matter what it is. But whenever it is that you're focusing on it or thinking about something and then not feeling good, that's because your third dimensional mind has a completely different perspective on it than your inner being. So in these 2 points, your third dimensional mind and in your inner being, in these 2 points, one of them is a fixed point. One of them never moves, and that is your inner being. Your third dimensional mind, it's moving all over the place. Every situation we come in contact with, when we have a problem, we're like, why is this person causing me a problem? Or when I'm doing this, I'm kind of trying to demonstrate that my mind is over here being angry. But when I'm not angry, these 2 things are aligned. So a good example would be when I'm focusing on my puppies. I love my dogs. So when I'm focusing on my dogs, how do I feel? I feel good. So my third dimensional mind has this excuse to be in alignment with the inner being, because the inner being, does it change? Nope. It only ever feels one thing, good. When you're feeling bad, it's because you've pulled yourself away from the love that would be flowing all over you otherwise. So when our third dimensional mind is focusing on a problem, we feel the feeling of negativity or of bad. But what we're really feeling is the lack of the loving feeling that would be there otherwise. So it turns out there isn't 2 emotions. There's actually only one emotion, the emotion of love and the lack of that. And so when our third dimensional mind and our inner being is in alignment, we feel great, we feel joyful, we feel amazing. And anything that we're focusing on, we tend to associate it with that thing. It's like, oh, I'm playing with my puppies. They make me feel good. Do they make me feel good? Or is my mind just having a reason to be in alignment with my inner being? And that's what feels good. I could create this alignment when I'm looking at my grandma. I could create this alignment when I'm looking at things that please me. But then when I look at things that don't please me, things that I disagree with, is my mind just going to be okay with that? No, if I look at something that I disagree with, my third dimensional mind disagrees with it, but my inner being doesn't. Your inner being doesn't disagree with anything that's happening here. Sounds crazy. It's almost annoying. Sometimes you want your inner being to understand, like, listen, you don't understand what they did to me. This wasn't cool at all. The inner being does not care. The inner being knows that you are an eternal being. Think about that. An eternal being has more life in front of them than could ever be behind them. Is your inner being really worried about what's happening here? Not really. Not really. So your inner being knows that it's here for joy, for love, for happiness, for all of the feelings that feel good. When you close your eyes and you imagine your dream life, in your dream life, is there anything on the side that doesn't feel good? You're like, oh, in my dream life, I want happiness and joy and prosperity and that guy that bothers me all the time. No. We only want things that match the feeling of feeling good. And so that's where we have to place the majority of our energy. That's what your inner being wants for you.
The teacher, Esther Hicks, also known as Abraham, says that really there's only one feeling, and that is the feeling of feeling good. Now, obviously, we feel bad sometimes, so clearly there's a bad feeling, so how the heck does that make sense, right? But what she's saying is that you have an inner being That's a fixed point. The inner being is your connection to God. The inner being is a fixed point. It doesn't ever change the way that it feels about things. The inner being knows that you're an eternal being. So it knows nothing bad can happen to you here. What's the worst that could happen to you here? You die? The inner being's not that worried about it. You're an eternal being. The fact that you're focusing here or not focusing here, not that big a deal. I know to the third dimensional mind, it's a big deal, a very big deal. But to the inner being, it's not. So what's the worst thing that could possibly happen is you die. So what's everything below that? If the inner being's not worried about that, then it's not worried about anything else below that either. So the point of the matter is the inner being's always feeling love, always feeling joy, always feeling that larger, broader understanding of why we're here, which is to grow, to learn, and so on. And so it's already looking at all of life through that perspective. When your friend is coming at you and they're angry, the inner being's not angry because it's not really worried that the friend's upset. It's seeing the bigger picture of what's going on. The third dimensional mind gets angry because our friend is angry. And so the third dimensional mind strays away from the way that the inner being sees it. The inner being sees it as like, we shouldn't be upset. And so it stays over here and not being upset. But our third dimensional mind, it's like, whoa, what's going on, right? We start getting upset. Now, as we stray away from the inner being, we leave the only place where that love comes from. So we're not generating love. We're not generating negativity. We're tuning into it or not tuning into it. So the only place that love and the good feeling comes from is from the inner being. This good feeling comes from God. It comes from this other side. And so when our third dimensional mind is in alignment with the inner being, we feel good. So when I'm focused on things that I love, that's a reason for my third dimensional mind to be in alignment with the inner being. It's like a pipe. The love can flow through. They're aligned. But that's when I'm focusing on things that bring me into that alignment. I could be focusing on my dogs. I could be focusing on my friends. I could be focusing on a beautiful movie that I like to watch. Whatever it is, it makes me feel good. It's bringing the two things together. But when I'm focusing on things that I disagree with, like a friend getting mad at me or a problem that I have to deal with, my third dimensional mind is now straying away from the way that the inner being would see it. So as it strays away, what happens? That love that would be flowing is no longer there. The further it strays away, the more you feel the lack of the love that would be flowing through to you. And as you feel that lack, we call it bad. It feels bad. Bad is just good not being there. It's a lot different than saying that this is bad, that we're creating bad, that bad is something that exists in my life. No, bad is simply just the lack of allowing what would be there otherwise. So Abraham's analogy for this is that what would be there otherwise is these two things would be synchronized. These two things being synchronized is like the cork that's floating in the top of the water. And that cork, it doesn't have to work to float. Of course not. It just floats. And that represents you in your natural state. That this is what God has told you that you deserve, that you're given. When you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Mostly feel good, right? Until a problem comes along, right? But you're up here, floating in this happy state. But then, as the day goes along, we tend to grab a hold of a problem and pull ourselves away from this natural state that we would be in otherwise, the state of feeling good. And we hold ourselves in a state that's unnatural to the way we would feel if we weren't doing anything. If we were just letting ourselves be, we would be feeling joy. These things would just naturally be aligned. So we have a hold of a problem and we're thinking about that problem. We're beating the drum of that problem and it's holding us in a place that's unnatural to where we would be. But what happens when we let go of the problem? Do you have to work at it or do you just have to go to bed and wake up again? And then you find yourself right back here, up in the place that God wants you to be, which is to feel joy, to feel love, to feel uplifted. And so this analogy is a really, really significant analogy that you are supposed to be in this happy place. We are supposed to have the third dimensional mind and the inner being aligned. You guys have heard the term vibration? Yeah? Do you think people throw it around a little too much? Does it make sense to anybody really? What is vibration? What does it really mean? Well, I looked it up in the dictionary, and vibration says that it's the oscillation between 2 points. It's the movement between 2 points. So what are the 2 points of our vibration? The 2 points have to be the inner being and the third dimensional mind. These are the 2 different points. When they're aligned and they're matched up, you feel good. You feel great. All the intuition from God is flowing through to you. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're receiving all of that information. Have you ever been in an argument and then later you're like, oh, I should have just said this? No, because these things were far apart. The vibration was slow. The information could not come through from the other side. But when they're aligned, the vibration's so fast, the intuition's so much stronger, the information just flows through without you even thinking about it. You just need all the things that you need. It just comes right through. It just feels wonderful. So when they're apart, you have a slow vibration. There's less intuition. It doesn't feel good. When they're together, you feel wonderful and you feel good. Now, let's explore this concept of them being together or apart. Because whenever it is that you're feeling good, you have these things aligned very well. And whenever it is that there's something that you're feeling bad about, something you're feeling worried about, you're feeling upset about, it's because you have a very strong desire. There's something that you want. There's something that you want, that your third dimensional mind is determined that you want, and you're not getting it. There's this thing that you want. You have this very strong desire. In the case of feeling good, you have a strong desire, but your third dimensional mind is in alignment. It says, yes, I can pet my puppy or whatever it might be. I can feel good, you know? So they're together and it flows and you feel great. But then you think about this thing that you desire that might seem too expensive. And you're like, oh, I really want this. I can't have that. Now there's this gap between what you desire and what you've identified in reality. This is what law of attraction is about. Closing this gap. What is it that I've identified in reality? And why is it that my third dimensional mind believes that I can't have it, that it won't be part of my experience, that it's not something that could be me? It's a lie. It's simply not true. And so the gap is representing what your brain thinks and the difference between what your inner being thinks. Your inner being thinks that if you can dream it, it can be yours in this reality. The third dimensional mind's like, yeah, fucking right. Like, maybe for you, but you know, like it'll think all these other things. And then guess what manifests? That. Exactly. Yeah. And so sometimes we keep offering the same vibration over and over and over. And we just feel reality doesn't change for me. But reality is changing. It's changing. It's changing. It's changing. It's changing. It's changing into the same thing. 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 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Because we keep offering the same vibration and then we keep getting the same thing. And we offer the same vibration, we get the same thing. And so we think, well, this is all it is. And it's because we're giving all of our attention towards what it is that we're observing. Instead of saying the attention that I give needs to be towards what I desire. Now that we've talked about everything that we've talked about so far, let's imagine our dream life. If we were to think of our dream life, in our dream life, we are going to have all of the things that make us feel happy, right? All the things that make us feel joyful, all the things that make us feel peaceful. There's not going to be that guy that bothers us all the time or that bill that we can't pay. Everything in our dream life is going to be on the side of feeling good, right? Great, excitement, like peace, everything on this side. So if I want a life that's going to match that, I need to make sure that the vibration that I'm offering now is this. Does this make sense, guys? When I look at reality, I'm not going to be seeing this side. I'm going to be seeing everything else. I'm going to be presented with all of this stuff that might make me think, oh, I got to push back. I got to fight back. No, they're wrong. No. But yet, I need to really be interpreting it through the feeling of feeling good and feeling joyful, because all of the things that I want match that. So if I want that to be true in my experience, I have to put more of my energy towards those feelings of feeling good than towards the real reality of what I'm observing. Now, most people are gonna be like, well, I focus on reality. I don't live in la la land. I don't live in, some fake, made up, hairy-fairy world. I live in reality. And we have to learn to not live in reality. We have to learn to say, unless my reality is exactly the way that I want it to be, which mine isn't, I don't know about you guys, but unless every little bit of it is exactly the way that you want it to be, I'm going to place less of my emphasis and less of my energy on reality and more of it on what I wish it to be, which is the good feeling, the joyful feeling, the happy feeling. It's like thinking that all of your desires are on the other side of this field. All you have to do is just get to there. But the field, the grass is this high. So you walk up to the field and you can't see across the other side. So you walk in there to the field, you're trying to get to the other side to where all the things that you desire are. But instead, you end up walking in circles in the field because there's no path. You have no idea where you're going. You've never been there before. It's like, I want this thing, but I don't see it. I've never had it in reality. No one I know has ever had it. They've never experienced it or been that thing. I don't know how to get there. It's like this field that I got to go through. But when I start walking through the field, immediately I'm lost because I've never been there before. So I got to keep focusing on it, keep focusing on it, keep focusing. And eventually, even though I've walked in circles and figure eights, I make it to the other side of the field. Then I'm telling others about it and I'm trying to do this again. I'm trying to, learn how to get to the other side of the field. The second time when I walk, isn't it a lot easier? You've already been there once. There's a little bit of a path, a little bit less of figure eight, you kind of made it a little. What about by the third and fourth time? Now there's a pathway. It's to this place that you've never been before. It's been very difficult. It's like, I've never understood being over there. I see some people over there and they look amazing. I don't understand it. I want to be over there. I just don't know how to get over there. And we have to focus on things for an extended period of time if we expect that they're going to manifest in our life. And so most people aren't focusing on the things that they want because they don't see how they're going to actually get it. So it's like, why would I focus on something that when I think about that new car, it just hurts? I can't have it. I don't know how I'm going to get it. I don't have the money for it. So what's the point of thinking about all these things that display the gap between what I'm observing in reality and what my desire is? And so all of this is about how to close that gap, how to get the mind and the inner being to be more in sync on an ongoing basis. Now, law of attraction will bring you things that you desire. But the first thing that we all should desire is to feel better. There's nothing that anyone's ever wanted, ever, that they didn't want it because they thought it wasn't going to make them feel better. You come to work every day to get paid because it makes you feel better to be able to pay your bills. There's nothing that you do that you don't do because you don't believe that it'll make you feel better. If you didn't think it would make you feel better, you wouldn't be doing it. This is the basis of consciousness. As you observe and conclude, you can't help but to conclude your preference. Whether it be walking into a room, is it too hot, is it too cold, are they staring at me? You can't help but perceiving and concluding, sorting and sifting and concluding your preference. This is the nature of consciousness. Now we're told that that's selfish. You shouldn't be doing that. But the reality is, this is how God made you. You are designed to observe and to conclude your preference. And this is all just atomic energy. So God's like, well, what damn difference does it make? If this is what you are observing and desiring, then this is what should be written into reality. But again, the thing is that most people are desiring things that are on the other side of the field. They have no idea how to get to it. And then when they focus on it, it only draws them to the idea of the lack of that thing. Not to the fact that I can have that, I can do that, I can be that. They think of the lack because they've never had it before. So some things that are helpful in this area is to know the combustion point of thought. So the combustion point of thought is 17 seconds. If I can think a thought for 17 seconds and hold that thought for 17 seconds, now if it's on something like, I'm going to get $1 million, after like 6 seconds, it's like, fuck, right? But if I can hold it for 17 seconds and actually hold the thought and believe the thought and milk the thought for 17 seconds, that's the combustion point of thought. Another thought similar to it will join it. So now I'm creating a belief or multiple memory engrams on the same topic. So we have beliefs, by the way, on all kinds of things. Like, does anyone believe it's easy to make money? Oh, okay. So you have beliefs on that it's hard to make money. And that's something that happened to you that turned out to be real. And you're like, cha-ching, that was real. Then it happened again, then it happened again, then it happened again. Now you have a neural net in your mind on this belief that it's hard to make money because you've thought it and agreed upon it and thought it and agreed upon it and thought it and agreed upon it and thought it and agreed upon it. Now there's a whole neural net, and that has a summoning process to it. Those neurons want to be fired. When you're having conversations about money, it's like, hey, don't forget about me. And they want to be fired. So we now have to develop new beliefs on things that we desire, regardless if we see how it's going to come into fruition or not. It's not even our job. That's God's job. That's the universe's job. Your job is to stay in the state of love and to stay in the state of joy and to stay in this state of how you would feel if that was in your experience. You can't let it into your experience if you're not feeling that way. You're like, I want this $1 million life. Well, how would you feel if you were there? Oh, no, I'm going to be over here. No, sorry, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be a little bit resentful. And this guy's taking too long in line. You see what I'm saying? If we want that life, we have to be willing to offer that on an ongoing basis, a moment-to-moment basis, a moment-to-moment, like every single moment that you're offering a signal of being more joyful, more happy. It's like you want to listen to the music of this one radio station, let's say 100.5. Let's say that you really love that music. It's beautiful to you, but you're only hearing the music from 98.1. You're like, this is horrible. And then your friend's like, well, why don't you just change the dial? Tune into this. You're like, no, you don't understand what they did to me. You know, I'm choosing to tune into this rather than choosing to tune into this for my own reasons, for whatever reason. And the reality of the matter is that regardless of what's happening to you, you don't have to justify it. You can just say, you know what? I choose to feel more joyful anyway. I understand that this thing happened, but I don't need to let it change my emotional state. If something outside of you can change your emotional state, then are you in charge of yourself? No, because something outside of you happens that's good, it makes you feel good. Something outside of you happens to make you feel bad. You feel bad? Where are you? Creating is about creating reality, is about creating the vibration that you would wish it to be and choosing to make that dominant in your life for no other reason than the fact that I choose to feel good. I want to feel good. Feeling good is the best state that I want to be in. Have you guys ever felt bad? Then you know how good it is to feel good. If you've ever been sick, it's like, oh, it feels so good to not be sick, just to feel normal. Feeling normal is feeling good. And we can enhance it. We can do all these different things to raise our level of how we feel. And so there's many different topics in our life. On some topics, we have nothing but joy and love and happiness. Maybe on the topics of our kids, maybe on the topics of our pets, maybe on the topic of, you pick, whatever it is that in your life that you know that you feel good. But then there's also other areas of our life where we have what Abraham calls a crack of least resistance. We have an area that's hard. Maybe it's in traffic. You know, you might get, like me, annoyed in traffic. And then it becomes a crack of least resistance. It's like this area that you're allowing frustration in that doesn't really need to be there. You're just adding this particular electromagnetic frequency, this negative frequency that doesn't need to be there. And when you include it, guess what's going to happen? If I'm tuning to 100.5, I get that. But if I'm tuning to 98.1, I get that. So if I'm tuning to that for any reason, it doesn't matter that it's traffic. If I'm tuning to a little bit of that throughout the day, the universe has to give me a little bit of that. There's no way that it can't. It can only give me the very vibration that I'm offering. So if I want a life that's happier, I have to offer a vibration that's happier. But I have to do that first. I have to offer that vibration first. I can't expect the universe is going to give me something that I'm not doing. Now, it's not easy to just change the direction of your vibration. If you've already been thinking a certain way and feeling a certain way, and you have a certain set of beliefs that have built up, it's like a train that's going down a set of tracks. And maybe you've already been doing this for a while. And so maybe you're going at like 50 miles an hour. You're like just cruising, like, oh, this is my life. And you're like, you finally identify, hey, I don't like this. I want to change my life. I want to be more positive. So you recognize instead of being 50 miles an hour on the train going this way, I actually need to be going the opposite way. And I need to be going fast the opposite way. Oh my goodness, I'm completely going in the wrong direction in life. So now how would you go from going 50 miles an hour this way to going 50 miles an hour that way? Would you agree that if you were to just do it like that it would probably be pretty bad for the train? Maybe all the contents would be completely crushed and broken. It's easier to hit a tree at 5 miles an hour than at 100 miles an hour. And so this is about momentum and energy. And if I have momentum and belief built up about things and I'm going 50 miles an hour that way, I'm not going to be able to just suddenly go that direction and go from being a little bit annoyed to suddenly being happy and dappy all the time. It's not possible. The first thing I have to do is slow down the direction of where I'm going. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. It's easier to hit a tree going 5 miles an hour than 100, right? Slow it down, slow it down. Then I can begin to think about the other direction. Now, this is just a metaphor, but it's to help you understand the way that thought works. Law of attraction is going to bring you whatever it is that you're already thinking and believing. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad for you. In fact, a lot of times we're thinking things and believing things that are not fundamentally good for us. And we're doing it because we're good observers of reality. Like, I get it right. That's exactly what happened. It's like, does it really matter? Unless you want that, stop focusing on it. Focus on what you would wish to be in your life. Stop being so hypnotized by everything that you're seeing around you. Start being more hypnotized by you choosing to be loving, to be joyful, to include those vibrations in your life. And as you do that, guess what you're doing? Slowing the train, slowing the train, slowing the train. So every topic in our life has two different sides to it. It's got the side of what we want and the side of what we don't want. So like here at work, there's the side of what we want. We want our clients to be well taken care of. I want to get paid. I want my coworkers to respect me. Then there's the side of what I don't want. I don't want to not be paid. I don't want to have a problem with people, right? Is there any topic in your life that doesn't have these two sides? How about money? Having enough of it or not enough of it? There's nothing in our life that does not have this two sides to the topic. It's kind of like a seesaw. You guys remember seesaws when we were younger? Yeah. So how do we pick up these different topics of our life, but only pick up the one side of the topic? Does this make sense what I'm saying? Like if I'm focusing on money, how can I focus only on the side of wanted, that I can have, that I will have enough, that all of the vibrations that go along, the feelings that go along with that, instead of picking up the unwanted side? How often when these topics come up, does immediately the feeling of the other side come up? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So this is why I keep saying over and over again, it's about simply feeling joyful and loving. It's not about trying to manifest big things and great things, because what happens when you don't get them? You're back to feeling bad again. If we can just find a way to feel joyful, to feel loving, to interpret life in a happier way, over time, little things like that are going to come into support. And before you know it, you're going to find yourself on those tracks going that direction, even if it's only 5 miles an hour. Then you're going to start to speed it up more and more by focusing on those things that you desire rather than the things that make you unhappy, because now you know that your guidance system is the way that you feel. When you're feeling something that makes you feel good, it's because you're in alignment. The universe is saying, yes, do more of this. This will bring me what I desire. When I'm feeling the negative feeling, the universe is saying the opposite. It's saying, no, don't go in this direction. This won't give you what you want. And except, what do? We're like, I'm ready to fight. I'm like angry, like, right? But we have to learn to create it the way that we would wish it to be. Stop responding to reality. Unless it's giving you exactly what you want. Unless it's giving you something joyful. Then in that case, milk it. Hold it for more than 17 seconds. Allow other thoughts that are similar to it to join. Create belief systems on it so that you can start to control the beliefs that you have, and you can start to say, I believe that the universe is great. I believe that everyone out there is awesome. I believe there's enough for everyone. I believe everything on the side of being positive. Now, when I look in the world, do I see all that? No, that's true. It's not true for everyone. Some people are manifesting and creating things that I don't desire. But just because they're manifesting something that I don't desire doesn't mean that I'm going to go over there with them and look at that thing that they don't desire and agree with them. Oh yeah, that's horrible. And then start to manifest that bad thing myself. Does that make sense, guys? And so we can't get involved in everyone's misery and everyone's problem, because then we start to do it. Do you know the difference between sympathizing and empathizing? Empathizing is when you come down to the emotional level of your friend that's complaining and you feel what they're going through, and you become part of it, and it's jerking a tear for you too, and it's just so horrible. Sympathy is when it's like, I recognize that this is bad for my friend. I love them. I want the best for them. And, you know, you pat them on the back and he's like, I'm with you. And then you walk away. Because it's easier to love them when you're to hold in that vibration. You do a lot more for your friend by imagining them, like your friend, let's say they're complaining about their job. You would do a lot better for your friend rather than listening to them complain about their job. And you can listen, by the way, and just don't say any of the stuff out loud. That way they feel loved, right? So I'm not saying just ignore them. I'm just saying you don't have to feed into it. You don't have to empathetically feed into it. So you would do a lot better just to listen to them and pat them on the back and be like, okay, yeah, I got to go now. And then later, thinking about them being at their job, interacting positively, being respected, being loved, being uplifted. You would do so much more to help them create that reality by doing that than by helping them focus on the negative problem. Doesn't seem like it, but that's the way reality works. It's based off of what it is that you're thinking about, and what you're thinking about leads you to a feeling. So unless you're thinking the thoughts that would lead you to those feelings, you might be a sloppy thinker instead. A sloppy thinker is somebody who's just randomly observing all the things happening and then having knee-jerk reactions to all the negative stuff and then creating more of it and telling everyone how it's everyone else's fault and problem. And you know what? If we were to categorize it properly, they probably are right. It probably is other people doing it to them. But does it make a difference? It doesn't make a difference at all. If it's happening to you, you attracted it. Yeah, you know how you know? Because it's happening to you. It wouldn't be happening to you otherwise. That's simply the nature of it. You're like, well, I didn't do it. They did that to me. And it's like, yeah, but you attracted it. It would not be. Then this is a very hard part to get of law of attraction, that everything that's happening to you is something you attracted. Once you can accept that and believe that, now you're taking responsibility for your life. You're saying that the things that have happened in my life, I have control over. If you don't have control over it, if it's because of these external things, then how will you ever have control of your life? You won't, because you're believing that all these external factors actually do. They're the ones that actually control you, not you. I believe that I control my life. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I attracted those things that are happening, the good things and the bad things. And I need to look at it from that perspective.
And the universe is actually responding to the vibration that you're putting out. And so sometimes people experience the same thing for long periods of time. And they say things like, oh, the universe is testing me. When in reality, what's happening is that they're continuing to offer the same vibration. The universe is giving them the same manifestation. They offer the same vibration towards that manifestation, because most people are offering the majority of their energy on what they're observing, not on what they desire, not on what they want. If they put it on what they want, they would probably feel this lack. They'd feel like, oh, I don't have that thing. And so most people don't focus on what they want. They focus on reality. And they're happy to tell you, I focus on reality. I don't live in La La Land. Guess what? I live in La La Land completely, 100%. Unless reality is exactly the way that you want it, you better live more in the idea of what it is that you would wish and what it is that you desire. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a life that's exactly the way I would want it to be in every area. So I'm going to let that be more malleable. I don't need that to be, the reality is like chewed gum. It's like you've already taken the flavor out of it. It's already manifested. It's already old. How are you going to hold on to that chewed gum? No, it's not a problem. You just throw it away and move on. But people don't see reality that way. They see when something has been manifested that's not the way they want it to be, they see it like it's a big problem. It's like, oh, this is the end of the world. I don't know what to do about it. It's kind of like, imagine that you are looking at the gas gauge on your car and the gas is getting low. And you pull up to the gas station and then you just fall into despair. You're like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. That would never happen. When the indicator is indicating that you're low on the thing that you need, you simply go into the gas station, you get the gas that you need. You don't sit there and be all unhappy about it. But in life, when our indicator indicates that reality is not giving us what we want, instead of taking the indication and saying, oh, I have to fill up. I have to focus more on the things that I desire. Instead, we focus even more on the empty gas gauge. Like, can you believe that it's empty? Would you ever put a happy sticker over your gas gauge? No. You would fill it up. And that's exactly what we need to do. When we have things in our life that's manifesting, that's not the way that we want it to be, you have to focus on what it is that you desire, on what it is that you want, not on this bad thing that's already manifested. Now, the universe is really responding to what you think and what you feel. In fact, it's so much responding to it that quantum physicists have picked this out. They've determined this. There's studies and experiments like this one here called the double slit experiment that are designed to literally show that the energy of the universe is actually responding to those doing the observing. So what that means is, normally in any scientific query, you have variable A and variable B with outcome C, right? Well, what happens when you have variable A, variable B, but the observer becomes variable C for outcome D? Does that make sense, guys? That the observer is actually shaping the very experiment that they are participating in. So they're doing something of the unknown, right? They're scientists, they're experimenting on unknown, trying to figure out stuff. Are they figuring it out or are they creating it? Because any great creator, they didn't know that they were going to create. Did Alexander Bell know he's going to create the telephone? No. He just started messing around with stuff, figured it out. Did Henry Ford know he's going to create a car? No. None of these people knew that they were going to create these things. They just got in there, they figured out stuff. They're like, oh, look at this thing. It can do this. We could probably hook that up and make it do that thing. And they just were innovative. They were geniuses because they focused on something that no one else could see for so long that it actually manifested. Now, there's times that people focus on things that we disagree with for so long that it manifests. Then those things are out there and they're not the things that we would like them to be. And then we try to enroll others like, hey, do you see this bad thing? Like, this guy focused on it so long it manifested. Now I'm going to focus on it with him too. And we'll manifest more of it together. Here, can you join me in this pushing against this thing? Do you guys see how that creates more of the things that we don't want? So if you have a problem, the fastest way to the solution is to actually think about the solution. Most people are just obsessing about the problem over and over and over and over and telling you about the problem and explaining how this problem is why they are where they are and that this is why. It's not because of them, it's because of this problem. And what that type of thinking does is it anchors us to that point in time, and then that's all we're ever going to have. Because that's what we've decided. That's how we want to define ourselves. That's what we want everyone to know. We don't want what we actually desire. We'd rather justify why things are the way they are. And so we have to get careful not to get caught in that trap of justifying why things are and saying, I truly desire to have XYZ, this experience, this set of friends, whatever that thing may be. And know that the universe will absolutely deliver that to you. It'll deliver that to you because that's what you're focusing on. In fact, right now it's delivering to you all of the things that you're already focusing on, which is probably a mix between some good things and some bad things. Some things that are wanted and some things that are not wanted. And this is the way it is on every topic. Every single topic in your life has wanted and unwanted, and it's good to break it down from this perspective. Because even here at work, there's wanted. I want to have a good day. I want my clients to not be mad at me. I want to get lots of the things that we need to get. I don't want a problem. I don't want my boss to be mad at me. I don't want a client to be upset with me. You know, there's wanted and unwanted. And so the question is, how do we approach topics by only approaching the wanted side of that topic? For example, when we approach the topic of money, if we were to look at it as a stick, on one side is wanted and the other side is unwanted, how do we pick up just the wanted side? we have to focus on what we desire more so than what was already manifested, what's in reality. So that might mean that we are just more general. Because if I focus on something that I don't believe in, that I don't believe, that I've never seen it manifested, I haven't manifested it, no one around me's manifested it. When I focus on something like that, I feel a big gap. So why focus on it? I'm going to feel the gap. I'm going to feel the difference. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want money or the car or the house or whatever that thing may be. I'm simply saying that when I personally focus on it, if I'm feeling that gap, then don't focus on it. That means becoming specific makes me feel the gap. But if I am more general and I just say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a new house? Well, that's a little bit easier. I can accept that without feeling the gap. Are you guys following this? Does it make any sense? So you have to become more general when it comes to things that are difficult. When it comes to things that seem less difficult, you can be way more specific and not feel the gap and be in alignment. The whole key is to be in alignment. You will be in alignment if you just stop thinking about anything that you want. The universe is you've already gone through life. You've already observed things. You've already concluded that you wish to have those things. You don't need to tell the universe anymore. It already knows. You now have to line up to the way that you would feel if you had that life. How would you feel? You'd feel joyful. You'd feel amazing. You'd feel great. You'd pop up out of bed every day like, I am ready for the world. So if you can do that now, the universe will deliver you that as a life. There is no way that it can't. If you create those feelings now and you sustain that on an ongoing basis, that means you're changing a lot of stuff around up here. You're changing the way that you're observing the world. You're changing the way that you're reacting. Perhaps you're going to stop reacting and start creating. Saying, hey, I wish every day to be a great day. So I'm going to be great to all the people around me. I'm going to be great wherever I go and everything that I do. And most importantly, the way that I think and treat myself. Because many people are very tough on themselves. And no one knows about that. Only they know about that. But the universe is responding to that. Can you listen to the beautiful music of 100.5 if you're tuned to 98.1? No. So if I'm tuning to anger, if I'm being frustrated, I will never get the life that I choose to have. I have to tune to that frequency in order to let it in. It can't come because I'm literally tuning to this other frequency. Does that make sense, guys? So it's something that you're doing on an ongoing basis. So a good way of thinking about it is, what is that thing that I'm doing that's causing me to think about things that I do not desire? That's causing me to look at reality and identify things within reality that I don't want. We're all so good at it. That's wrong. That shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't be doing that. We're so quick and easy to identify all the things we don't want. How often are we identifying all the things that we do want and letting that be really, really profound and powerful in our experience, where we're thinking about that for a prolonged period of time? It takes 17 seconds to think a thought before another thought that's similar to it will come and join in your mind. So if you're thinking about that new thing that you desire, and at 8 seconds, 9 seconds, you've already thrown in the towel, like, yeah, what the fuck, I'll never get that. Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be going down that. You're not going to create that memory engram. But let's say that you can think that thought and hold it for 17 seconds. Well, now you've held it for the combustion point of thought. Now you've held it long enough that another thought that's similar to that is going to populate into your mind because you've held that thought long enough. And as you do that on subjects that you may have disbelief on, and you don't want to have disbelief, like, no, I wouldn't want to believe this thing. As you do that, and you think that thought, and you create a memory engram, and you think another thought that's similar to it, and create another memory engram, and you think another thought that's similar, and you create another memory engram, you've just created a belief. Because a belief is just a thought that you thought more than once and agreed on. People have beliefs that money is really easy. Some people have beliefs that money is really hard. Which one's true? Which one do you want to be true? We have to look at reality not as something that is finite and that's already manifested. It's there to be malleable. It's there to be changed. It's there to be a bouncing off point that all of us can come together and be in the same platform, in the same place to bring together our focus. It's a really amazing thing what's happening here. When you look at law of attraction, when you look at the way consciousness is interacting with the third dimension, it really is a very cool thing. Because from my understanding, when we're in our non-physical state, because all of you are eternal beings, and the idea of being here third dimensionally makes us believe that life will end. But that's because life here is not meant to be eternally. The who and what you are is absolutely 100% eternal. And your inner being knows that. Your inner being is looking at life through that lens. And your inner being is trying to constantly bring you to the things that you desire. But the problem is most of the time people are focusing on things that have already manifested. They're identifying the problems with those things. They're orienting themselves to these problem ways of thinking. And then more things like that show up in their life.
Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Thrive and Prosper podcast. We deeply appreciate it. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to our podcast on any various audio channels or platforms. And also, if you're listening to us on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe there so you'll be alerted as to when new episodes drop. On behalf of everyone here, on behalf of Mr. Ari Page and Fund and Grow, I'm Zach Ritchie. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.